eagle's wings and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. Amen. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. The journey to Sinai, or the proposal. The journey to Sinai, or the proposal. It's the morning after the night before. And the coming of that morning told a story. You see, the events of that past night were telling. The events of that past night spoke loudly for God. You see, that past night, he had made a distinction between those who were his and those who weren't. From the slaying of the firstborn son of the Egyptians to the destruction of Pharaoh's army in the Red Sea, God had spoken clearly that night. There were no doubts in anyone's mind as to who God's children were. The blood on the doorpost had sanctified them. And God delivered a holy nation from Egyptian bondage. And when the Israelites arose that morning, and they looked along the seashore of the Red Sea, there they saw scattered the remnants of Pharaoh's army. They realized that they were special to God. But you know, even in God's great acts on behalf of Israel, they were very, very slow learners. The lessons that they should have learned, they were very, very, very slow learners. And where God is concerned, he will make you repeat class. It's not his desire. You see, where God is concerned, there is no such thing as social promotion.
Amen.
No such thing as social promotion. You know, in school, if a child is of a certain age, then they designate that this child is supposed to be in a certain grade. Yes. Whether the child meets the standards or not. Because it is said that psychologically it would, damage the child's psyche if the child is 12 and the other 12-year-olds are in 6th or 7th grade and this child is back in 5th grade. So there's social promotion. But where God is concerned, there is no social promotion. You see, in the school of Christ, lessons must be learned. And if those lessons are not learned, then he makes us repeat class. Are you there? Yes. Yeah. And as we watch God lead Israel, we will see how many times Israel had to repeat class. Are you there? Yeah. And may God grant that we don't have to repeat class. They leave the shores of the Red Sea, and they are journeying to that land that was promised to Abraham. The promise was repeated to Isaac, and then further repeated to Jacob. And they are now the descendants of Jacob. And those promises made to their forefathers were theirs to inherit. And when they leave the shores of the Red Sea, after having seen God, what he did, the evidence was there. They, instead of learning to trust, became a nation of murmurers. At the slightest inconvenience, not actual inconvenience, but sometimes imagined inconvenience, they would complain. They leave the shores of Sinai, of the Red Sea, and they're journeying to Sinai for a meeting with God. And he purposed to take them through that path which he led them, so that when they got to Sinai, they would have been ripe and ready. Based upon the experiences that he took them through. They leave the shores of the Red Sea and they journey for 3 days. Hot. Desert. But remember now, there was what? A mighty rock in a weary land. There was that pillar of cloud. There was that pillar of cloud. But 3 days out towards Sinai, water started to run low. And guess what they did? What they did? They murmured. They found a place where there was water, and the water was bitter, not palatable. And instead of trusting the God who parted the Red Sea, they murmured. Moses was told by the Lord to take a certain tree and listen. Thank God he does not treat us the way we deserve. But sometimes he lets his protecting care, he withdraws it, so that we can come to our senses. Moses throws this piece of he cuts this tree and threw it into the water. It became sweet and they drank. Another miracle. Another miracle. Their thirst is quenched. Well, they are going towards Sinai. When they looked at their store of food, they had food. But then, as they are journeying, the food supply is what? Is running low. Boy, oh boy. And listen to what they say. They turn and told. Okay, one moment. Go back to, let's look at chapter 16. Chapter 16. Listen to the words of this people. Chapter 16, verse 1. And they took their journey from Elim. And all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month, after their departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel, what? Murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt. Lift your heads. After having seen all that God had done. Now remember, when Moses went to Pharaoh and said, God has declared, let my people go. Huh? Pharaoh said, who is God? And when Moses said to Pharaoh, God says, let his people go so that they can do service and sacrifice to me. Pharaoh said to him, you're too idle. That you're coming to me to say you want to go worship God. And when they gave them straw, we're giving them straw to make bricks, they now had to do what? Go out and find the straw, and at the end of the day, give the same number of bricks that they had to make before. And now, their store is not yet fully run out. But they are saying to Moses, we would have preferred being in Egyptian bondage because we sat by the flesh pots. Let's read on. When we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For you have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Look, pay close attention. Look at the boldness and audacity of this people. You see what they're saying to Moses? You, Moses, you have brought us out here. I ask this question. Was it Moses who brought them there? No. It was God who was leading them, because as they journeyed, they saw the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. They point to him, said, you know, you're responsible for this. And they were ready to stone him. And then the Lord, pay close attention at the stiff-neckedness of this people. All of the verses we can't read, but read Exodus 16 and you'll find it there. Pay close attention. The Lord rained a quail, sent quails. And then he rained manna down for them. And they were given, pay close attention, they were given specific instructions where the manna was concerned. Moses instructed them, coming from the Lord, go out every day and gather. Do not leave anything for the morning. Because if you do, it will spoil. You know what I did? After having been given clear instruction, They kept it for the next morning, and the Bible says it stank and, bred worms. Are you there? There is a reason, or there was a reason, why God instructed them from Sunday to Thursday, gather a portion just for that day. You remember Christ's prayer? Give us this day what? Our daily bread. And God was designing to teach them that your daily bread comes from me. Yes, I am indeed the bread of life. But some, in their disobedience, did otherwise. And there was a lesson. Listen up now. Listen carefully. There was another lesson that God designed to teach Israel where that manna is concerned. And that was an abiding lesson that he taught them every week for 40 years. Are you there? They had over 2,000 lessons by the time they got to the promised land. Are you there? You see, Moses instructed them that on Friday they were to gather a double portion of manna. Notice, from Monday to Thursday, they didn't dare do it. But when Friday came, that sixth day of the week, they were instructed to gather a double portion and to prepare that which the double portion that they gathered for what? The next day's Sabbath. Amen. And they were told that if you go out, you wouldn't find it in the field, and if you prepare it, it wouldn't stink. Amen. Guess what? Some did go out. Yes. Some still went out on Sabbath morning looking for manna. But to the obedient and the trusting, they prepared Brother Gabriel on Friday. And guess what? When Sabbath came, it was as fresh as if they had prepared the day before. As if it was prepared that same day. A couple of lessons. Lift your heads now. 1. Are you there? Are you there? Pay close attention now. For those who claim that the Sabbath is a Jewish institution and was given to the Israelites at Sinai, guess what? Wrong answer. Before Israel got to Sinai, God had them observing the Sabbath. So the Sabbath did not come into Israel when God proclaimed his law on Sinai. Amen. Before they got to Sinai, they were keeping the Sabbath. And listen to me. There was a reason why he did that. Uh-oh. Don't sleep now, you know. this Sabbath keeping before they got to Sinai is an object lesson for us. That those who enter the promised land, who were not Sabbath keepers, will keep Sabbath before they enter the promised land.
Amen.
So this heresy that the Sabbath came at Sinai and it was a Jewish institution is a lie. Hold a second now. Listen. Remember I entitled the sermon what? The Journey to Sinai, or the proposal. God could not marry Israel at that stage because he would have been doing something that is unequally yoked.
Yes.
Uh-oh. I repeat, God could not marry Israel as yet, because had he done so, he would have been unequally yoked. So what is he doing with Israel? Remember, when they were there in Egypt, they practiced what? So what is the Lord doing? Uprooting the idolatry and false worship that had taken possession of them. Because remember now, he has to marry someone of like faith.
Amen. Yes, sir. Amen.
So what is he doing there? What is the Lord doing? Making Israel into Seventh-day Adventists.
Amen.
I got another one by God's grace, to show you. Are you there? So God was taking idolatry out of Israel and restoring them, in them, the elements of true worship.
Amen.
And that lesson was taught by the falling of manna, Monday to Friday, one portion. And on Friday, you pick up a double portion. It tells us something. What does it tell us? That which is eaten on Sabbath, that which is eaten on Sabbath is what? Prepared when?
Friday.
On Friday. Here are my notes. And so, as I mentioned earlier, throughout their journeyings, every week, they went through that ritual. Now, there are 52 Sabbaths in a year. Are you there? For 40 years. Multiply that. That's 2,000. Plus. So they had over 2,000 object lessons every week to teach them the perpetuity of God's Sabbath. But you know, as I said, some are slow to learn. Not some. All of us, we are slow learners. Because there ain't none righteous. No, not one. As they're journeying to Sinai, Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, are you there? you're going to see some elements. Remember, we are taking lessons from the Exodus. And then we're going to take those, because the Exodus journey of Israel is a mirror or a pattern of their journey to the early Canaan is a pattern of our journey to the heavenly Canaan. Amen. From Exodus to Advent. Moses' father-in-law. Brethren, pay close attention. Pay close attention. Are you there? Where the Advent movement was concerned, God gathered a people. Are you there? That he's leading. And he didn't lead them as a harum-scarum bunch, with every man being a law unto himself. Jethro comes. He brings Moses, his wife, and his 2 sons. And they greet and family renewal. Jethro, who was a priest of the Most High God. Are you there? It means then that if Jethro was a priest of the Most High God, he must have had a sanctuary or a place where he pastored and functioned. Amen. It meant then that the sacrificial system established at Sinai was nothing new. Amen. It started in the Garden of Eden. Uh-oh. He comes and he sits and he watches Moses. And before he departs, he says to Moses, you can read it. You can read it in Exodus 18 here. Let's look at verses 21 to 23. I'm sorry, no. One moment. Exodus 18, yes, I'm sorry. 21 to 23. When he watched Moses handling all the duties that pertained to the children of Israel, he came to Moses and he said, now listen, if you continue like this, you're going to wear out yourself. God has not blessed one man with every gift and talent, and it's not a one-man show. Amen. Look at what Jethro says to him. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, and rulers of hundreds, and the rulers of 50s, and the rulers of 10s. And let them judge the people at all seasons. And it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee. But every small matter they shall judge. So shall it be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burdens with thee. And if thou shalt do this thing, and God command thee so, then thou shalt be able to endure. And all this people shall also go to their place in peace. The church is now being organized. Amen. Amen. The church is now being organized. Amen. God's church is an organized body, not a disorganized body. And anytime you hear someone attacking the organization of God's church, God has not sent them. Amen. there is order in heaven. That old serpent is the author of disorder and structure and confusion. And so Moses now is instructed by God through Jethro, his father-in-law. Organize the church. Get rulers over tens, and rulers over hundreds, and rulers over 50s and hundreds, and let them deal with the small matters. But the big matters, let them come unto you. Guess what? Guess what? To prove, listen, are you there? You're quiet today. To prove that the Seventh-day Adventist Church, listen, is God's remnant church, all you have to do is to look and see how the church of God is organized. Amen. Just like the biblical pattern set forth here. You have conferences. You have unions. You have division. And then you have a general conference. Various levels of organization, not congregationalism. Are you there? Where in the congregational system, the church is the wherewithal and the end all of everything. The church hires the pastor, the church fires the pastor. In other words, if the pastor is not dancing to the music that the church is playing, guess what? You're gone. Not in God's church. It does not happen that way. Now, give me that. Thank you. Now, after Jethro departed, they have an appointment with the Lord at Sinai. And there is where our scripture reading comes from. Third month, when the children, 19, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. For they were departed from Rephidim. Oh, let me tell you Rephidim. Let me tell you the story of Rephidim and their rebellion again. They ran out of water again. And what did they do again? They murmured again. And the Lord said, the Lord said to Moses, Moses, come. Go stand on that rock. And I want you to take your rod and smite that rock. And when Moses did, guess what? The water flowed. Standing next to Moses on that rock was who? Christ. The Bible tells us so. They all drank from that spiritual rock that flowed. And that rock was who? Jesus Christ. Amen. Mighty rock in a weary land, cooling shade on the burning sand, faithful guide for the pilgrim band, a shelter in the time of storm. Amen. And that water flowed and they drank. But notice the murmuring and complaining and all the while. Pay close attention. He is teaching Israel one lesson. You can trust in me. You can trust in me. You see, no man dare ask the hand of a woman in marriage unless he has first demonstrated, are you there, that he is capable enough of taking care of her. Well, you know, today is a little different. The days of chivalry are over. Oh, man. And standards have been lowered, and men are not called to account. Are you there? They get off scot-free, you know, by being deadbeats. All the while, God was wooing Israel. He was demonstrating to her that, listen, you can throw in your lot with me because I have demonstrated taking care of you in all circumstances. Let's read on. And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel. Listen now, he's recounting his faithfulness. You have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Why does he use the analogy of the eagle? Now we know the eagle is the king of birds. But why does he says, I bore you on eagle's wings? Watch an eagle in the storm, in a windstorm. The eagle doesn't fight the currents. No. The eagle uses the currents, and all it does is and God was saying to Israel, in spite of the stormy winds, you were safe under his wings. You rode on my wings, and I brought you to myself. Now therefore, listen carefully now. The proposal. Are you there? The proposal, he's proposing now. Watch, you know, the fellas today, you know, they get a ring and they get on their knees and he recounts his faithfulness. And he concludes, when you see therefore, we summing up. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice, there are conditions. You're not going to walk your own way. If you will obey my voice, indeed, and keep my covenant, then what? Ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. In other words, once you enter into covenant with me, you are going to be what? A special and what? A peculiar treasure. Providing you keep my covenant. The conditions. And ye shall be unto me what? A kingdom of priests. And a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. He has made his proposal. He has asked Israel to what? To be his bride.
Amen.
Will you marry me?
Amen.
Next Sabbath. Next Sabbath. Oh no, next Sabbath I'll do, when we take up this story again. When we take up the story again. Next Sabbath I'm going to do a sermon on Christmas. But when we take up the story again, we will look at Israel's, listen carefully now. We will look and we will see Israel's response to the proposal. We will, are you there? We will see the preparation for the marriage, the preparation. You didn't hear what I just said? You got to, Sister Johnson, you got to get ready for wedding. Huh? You're not going to wedding in, No! We will see the preparation for the wedding. We will see the wedding.
Amen.
And we will see the gift that Israel received as her wedding gift. Are you there? Yes. The earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof. And he has made Israel a special and peculiar treasure unto himself. And as we look and journey and we see the lessons of ancient Israel, may God grant that those things that were written aforetime, we realize that they were written for our learning, upon whom the ends of the earth are come. God bless you.
Amen. Before we have our closing hymn, we'll do a season of prayer.